organization whose sole purpose is to inspire and equip the next generation of aviators. We achieve this by offering educational aviation seminars and tours to high school students. Our media channel, we provide our audience with relevant information on aviation filled through panel discussions, interviews with aviation professionals. We offer high school students the Junior Aviator course to broaden their understanding of aviation as well as increase their chances of getting into top aviation schools. We also offer Aviation Refresher and Advanced course on aviation topics. All our courses are carefully designed by aviation experts with international aviation qualifications in a wide range of aviation disciplines. The courses are designed to equip aviators with modern and relevant skills applicable in today's aviation world. Inspire, equip, empower, Flight Wings Aviation.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good anything, depending on the time zone you are joining us on. Welcome to The Big Sky with your host, Isaac Yami, and a pleasant Thursday to everyone. It's amazing being here again every single Thursday, bringing more awareness in the aviation industry. And you are tuned into The Big Sky, proudly brought to you by Flight Wings Aviation. So today, like every other day, I am privileged to be discussing about aviation with a different guest, like always. But before I go to that, if you're joining us for the first time, thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to everybody who supported us season 2. Unfortunately, today is the last episode of season 2, but it has been showered with blessings, and I am happy we have passed our subscription mark, and we are rose to 200 now, and which is great considering that we started recent. For us, it's a great achievement. Thank you so much for anybody who subscribed, who shared our streams to anywhere, anyhow. Please do continue to share the message, aviation to the world. So, joining me today, we have a wonderful lady called Ruvheneko. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. The way you're looking at me when I was going about like the monologue, like is he gonna stop?
No, not even.
Yeah, it's awesome. You're gonna talk a lot today, which is great. I mean, that's the idea. So I'm exhausting my lungs now because you're gonna do most of the talking today. So moving straight into today's business. I am just going to read out your bio to people so they can get accustomed before we get into the nitty gritties of today's conversation. So the name is Ruvheneko Pfende, is a private pilot and is currently pursuing her commercial pilot license. And she's passionate about aviation and she encourages young people in the industry and she aspires to be globally a marketable individual in the aviation space. And she's part of various aviation organizations and she has also worked in flight school, which helped her to understand the industry. And the favorite aircraft is, yeah, I'm gonna allow you to say it as you speak. I will end here. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome Miss Ruvheneko. Drum roll.
Thank you.
How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing well. How are you, Isaac?
I am doing great. So yes, yeah, the basically the buyer has literally defined who you are, basically. But just tell us about yourself. Um, Without preempting a lot. I mean, just tell us about yourself. Typically, as we move into the deeper things, just briefly break the ice. Who's Ruveneko?
Okay. Well, I'm a young lady. I'm 25. And as you said, I'm a private pilot. Currently completing my commercial pilot's license. I am passionate about aviation. I love people in general. I'm courageous. I don't give up. I don't. I think this industry doesn't let you give up. You have to be someone who continues to enjoy. And yes, that's about it. That's Ruvheneko Pfende.
Awesome. So, what's sticking out for me right now is you do not give up, which is great, and yeah, over the course of the conversation, obviously, you have to say what that really means and situations where you could have and you did not. But before we go to that type of questioning, I'm going to ask you, what's your educational background? How did we come to end up being a private pilot in terms of your study background? Where did
My
it all
study
start? How?
background. So I went as far back like primary school. I went to aerial school in Rua. Then high school, I'm an Arundel. I went to Arundel Girls, Arundel High School. And then flight school, I finished my pilot license at Eagle Air, and I'm currently completing my commercial license at Superior at Grand Central in Midrand in South Africa.
Nice. You learned Arundel School. What were you studying there? And was it always leading to this?
Well, you'll be so surprised, eh? In A level, I did French, history, and literature. I didn't do like sciences and everything, but my passion was aviation, so I still found myself there because I was actually not that good at like the sciences. So in the end, I was left with French history and literature, and then yeah. So which shows you that you can get into aviation without like the sciences, but preferably do the sciences. They help you. They really help you.
Interesting. You were doing history, French. Okay, but then why did you stick with that when you knew you were passionate about aviation? What was going through your mind during this time?
Well, what actually happened? I don't know if you know much about Arundel. Arundel, smart people go to Arundel. So I was, I was. It was very competitive, and I wasn't really good at like physics and chem and bio. So now, when it was time to pick those subjects, I wasn't doing so well at them, so I could not pick them. I just had to pick French history and literature for my A-level subject. So that's why I picked them, because I wasn't so good at them. So I had to do the languages and the art side of things.
Interesting. So you had to go through this process. And how was it? Did you
Yes.
studying something when you knew exactly what you wanted to do? Like, how did you get to be interested
Well,
in aviation? First of all, yes, yeah, first of all.
okay. So when I was in like, I think it was about Form 2, I was about 14 years old. And it was time to think about like what I wanted to do in the future. And then at that time, everyone wanted to be like a lawyer or a doctor, which is so cool. And some of my friends are actually lawyers and doctors, and I'm so proud of them. But that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to fly, and I knew that this is what I wanted to do. So, what then happened was that my youth pastor at church was Captain at SC at the time, and now he's at Cathay Pacific. So, I then decided, then he mentored me throughout like high school and primary school, and I mean high school, and up until I actually then started flying. So that's how I decided. I didn't want to do those other things. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something unique. So yeah.
Mm, I see. So started 14 years old. And do you remember the very first thing that got you inspired? The very first thing that you think this got you inspired?
Please may you repeat that? I didn't hear you very well.
I was saying that you say that the interest grew when you were like 14 years old, right? And then I was saying that do you remember an incident where you remember being inspired in the aviation way? Like, do you remember the first thing that inspired you, if you may, specifically something that you like? This got me thinking this could be it. Do you have that moment?
Well, I think it was one time when I went on holiday with my family, and I remember just being like above everything. And it was actually a night flight. And I remember just thinking, wow, I could do this all my life and I'll be happy. Like, and up to this day, I cry when I fly at night, because for me it's just so beautiful. It just shows me how awesome like God is, how, you know, you can't understand how this aircraft is above everything, and like there's just clouds and stars and lights. So to me it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, and that's what made my dream, like that's how I decided that this is what I wanted to do.
Well, you say that you literally cry every single time you fly in the evening. I'm trying to imagine you. I'm trying to imagine you like literally wiping out tears and flying.
But that's what I
Wow,
do.
that's an interesting depiction. That's an interesting depiction that you just mentioned. How you being in that certain zone got you inspired and having to think if I could do this, that would be great. So having that expectation and then pursuing this now, how has been the journey, the aviation journey to you?
Yeah, the journey has been challenging, but it has had its milestones. Challenging in the sense that when you start, right, it's so it's something you've never done before. it's something that was like a dream. Yes, you might do research about it. Yes, you might have people that you know who are doing it, but it's different now when you're in the aircraft and you're learning certain things for the first time, because it's not like driving a car. Some things may be similar, but it's different. So learning all these things that are so foreign to you is it's not easy. Like the first few hours are like they're not easy. And eventually it gets better, but at the beginning it's quite challenging. But once you get it, that's the nice thing about flying, is that once you understand what's happening, like you understand. You now know how to take off, you now know how to land, you now know how to keep the aircraft straight and level, you know how to turn, you know how to climb. Those skills eventually they become part of you, but at the beginning it's not easy. And then other challenges are stuff like finances. Personally, for me, that has been one of the challenges I've experienced. Is that, when I started, finances were there and I could do certain things. But eventually, with the economy changing at home and things changing, things became a bit difficult financially. So, those have been like my challenges personally.
I see. And then usually we like talking about the financial aspect. For us, it's very interesting on how various pilots get to conquer that barrier, and it in a way encourages other people. Like having the experience of interviewing so many pilots, so many of you. I've noticed the different strategies that have been used. Some people have known that they wanted to fly even from a tender age of 9, and the parents started making a plan. And some people had
Mm.
opportunities of getting a bursary, and there's so many things that have helped people to succeed in this trade. Like how are you like circumventing, or how are you maneuvering on the financial aspect itself? Like how do you find yourself um progressing? Like what's your method, and then do you know any method that could actually empower people who are actually struggling to even think about the idea? Because you're thinking aviation, that's a lot of money, and some people's dreams are not so much, because already some people feel intimidated to think that way. Do you have any words in terms of on how someone can actually have a financial viable plan that would help them to achieve this?
Well, my advice, well, what I have decided to do was that I decided to work. So I've I've worked for like the past few years. Currently, I actually have like a job where I work certain hours and save up towards my training. I can't do much, but at least if I'm doing something and my parents and together we're partnering to achieve this dream, it really helps. Because even if I'm putting in just a bit and they're putting in just a bit, it will get us somewhere. So I've seen that for me, that has been something that I've been doing and it has worked for me. And it has also helped me like to acquire other skills, because one thing I noticed during COVID was that a lot of pilots were left with no jobs or nothing to fall back on because they didn't have any other skills. Because I went straight from high school into flight school. I never had a degree, I didn't do anything else. So now having these jobs that I do, even if they might not be like big jobs, or it's an online job or something, it really helps me to partner with my parents to achieve the dream. And then you also asked me that what can like people do in order to fund their training and stuff. And I would say that if you keep the right people around you, I have certain friends who will tell me about scholarships that are available. And sometimes you think that the scholarship is not applicable to you. You have to try. You just have to try and apply for those scholarships. You have to try, because some of my friends have gotten scholarships that we thought that maybe it's not applicable to us, but they got them. So my next goal, when I'm in a place where I can apply for certain scholarships, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to apply for scholarships and bursaries and stuff like that.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Apart from the challenges, I mean, one of the things I'm really curious about is having to have the pilot share something a bit personal that they feel like it was a huge challenge to them and how they overcame it, and in a bit to seek for inspiration. Like there's this moment where you could have reconsidered. Do you have any moments where it seemed as if all hopes were lost and somehow you searched and you became victorious? Do you have those moments, or you have a moment? The one that you
You'll
can
be
share
so
with us, obviously. I mean,
well. Uh, I think I don't know if I'm speaking for other people, but it's not one moment. You have moments. It's like it's not a one-time thing. There's you have seasons of moments depending on where you are. I feel like before I went solo, I had a moment. Before I got my PPL, I had a moment. And even in between transitioning through training, you have moments. But the one moment I'll share, I think, was just before my PPL test. There's a time where I thought like, is this ever going to happen? Am I ever going to wear these bars? I remember the first 3 days after my PPL test, like I didn't believe it. I'm like, are these mine? Because it really looked impossible. It really looked like, mainly because of challenges of maybe not grasping certain concepts, or maybe fear. Sometimes it's just fear, or sometimes just, anxiety and stuff like that. And it gets into your mind in the aircraft, and sometimes you forget what you were supposed to do, and the flight doesn't go well. So I had like a flight like that before my PPL test. And then on the day of the test, I just calmed myself down, and then it went well. So the moment was mainly because I was afraid, um, but then eventually it was okay.
ah, awesome. I see people in the comment section that are calling you Venny. Is that your nickname?
Yes, everyone calls me Benny. Ruvheneko is my name on my birth certificate. Some people call me
Why do
Ruvheneko,
people call you
but
Venny?
most
Is
people,
is that short? Is
but
that
most
short
people
for
call, yes, it's short for Ruvheneko.
Venny? Ah, because I'm seeing in the comment section it's Go Venny. Or is I'm like, am I interviewing the right person? I mean, Fly Wings, is this the right person that I've been given?
No, it's the right person.
uh, uh, so moment. So you're gonna really give me one moment, like where you describe. I mean, yeah, you gave me like so many moments, but are you gonna give me one moment, like where you get heart to heart with all of us, me and the viewers? One moment where you take us through, like it was a sunny day, and this happened, and then I couldn't even drink water. Give us something juicy, something heartfelt.
To, to be honest, like you also asked me about another, like a moment earlier on. To be honest, I can't remember, because you have different periods where you feel like, um I don't know what's going to happen. So I can't really pick a moment, because it's several moments where you have that feeling, and you break down and you cry and you pray, and then you wake up tomorrow and you continue. So I can't pinpoint a moment, because it's not something that happens specific times. Like, I experienced it more than a few times. It happened quite a few times. That's why I can't really pinpoint a moment.
Awesome. There we have it, viewers. Venia refused to give us one singular moment. She said there are so many moments. So, yes. So, it's not gonna happen on this show, sadly. Wherever, but it's fine. It's fine. I understand what you mean, and I get it. I mean, sometimes you might not recall every other single moment. I mean, I personally would, I would personally would want to remember because yeah, but then it's all good. It's all good. So apart from just talking about the challenges, let's talk about the highs, like the one of those moments where you felt like you were invincible and this is it. Let's talk about the high
Yeah.
moments in this journey.
You see, now I remember the highs. I don't really remember the
It's
lows.
great. It's great. It's even better if you don't remember the lows. Give us a high. Give us a high,
True.
and there was, or even two highs, and then what
Two
really
highs.
like fueled you to be so happy and all of these things.
So my high has to be the day of my PPL test. It was just, it was a beautiful sunny day. And I remember, like, towards the end of the test, I was flying in Pretoria at the time. And now I had to like divert. So now I'm thinking, is my diversion correct? Did I divert to the right place? Am I like, did I miss a stop? So then I hear a radio call someone saying Pretoria diversion. I wanted to just like, yes, because that's how I knew that my diversion was correct. I knew that now, like, I passed the test. If I got this correct, I passed the test. So, and then I remember landing and, getting to school, feeling nervous, but, just having this confidence that it's done. So for me, my high has to be my PPL test. That was the best flight I've ever had. And it's like the best day that in my career so far. That was the best day.
Wow, awesome, awesome. You should have seen yourself when you did the with the fist fight like this thing. You said like yes, like I could feel the excitement you had and the joyousness in you and allow me to say congratulations again. I mean, it's great when
Ah,
people get to achieve and all of these things. Who inspires you though in the aviation industry? Like, do you have any specific names?
for me,
Who's like your go-to person? Like, this is it.
for me, it's like it's all the women, all the captains and the first officers I follow. All of them, like all of them. I mean, First Officer Chipo Gatsi, Captain Chipo Matimba, Captain Elizabeth Petros, Captain Amanda Kandawire Koza, Pilot Mom, that's what she calls herself on Instagram. All of them, they really inspire me because, especially when they share their journeys personally, then you see that, what, I'm not doing so badly. I'm walking in the paths that they've walked. I'm experiencing things that they experienced. So they really inspired me that despite everything they've gone through, they're where they are. And, I am personally so proud of them. And they're always making an effort to empower people behind them. So for me, that's amazing. That's the goal. You mustn't get there and forget where you came from or forget those behind you. And they are doing such great work in holding our hands and encouraging us.
Oh, that's great. And what are your aspirations in this industry? Where do you see yourself going, and where do you love to see yourself go?
So for me, I'd like to do my instructor's rating after I finish my commercial pilot's license. And I've always been so fond of bush flying. So after some time in instruction, I'd like to go into like bush flying and everything, and then eventually end up in the airlines. So most of us want to end up in Emirates and some of those places, but I'm not really picky about where I end up. That's roughly my plan. That's what I would want.
You're not picky. That moment I wanted to mention in the airlines, and I remember now. I will not allow this show to go through this. I will allow you to not be picky, and I will not be picky in picking the airlines. Are like, are you sure this you wouldn't mind? But it's all great. I mean, at the end of the day, it's flying. I think that's what really matters. And yeah, so your favorite aircraft is the B787 Dreamliner.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, why? Why is
Well,
that your
for
favorite
me,
aircraft?
it's my favorite aircraft because it doesn't have a hump like the 747. I really don't like that hump on the 747. And it's not tiny like the 737 or the A320, and it's not too big like the A380. It's just, in between, but it's big and it has a nice shape. It's a lady. To me, it's beautiful. It's so nice to look at, and it has such a nice shape and a nice size. It's a beautiful aircraft. It's a beautiful aircraft.
He says that you say like it's a lady.
It's a
These are your
lady,
words.
yeah.
It's a lady. It's a beautiful aircraft. Ah, awesome. So a slight diversion, diversion from the seriousness and all this seriousness. What interests you outside aviation as a person?
So
You
I grew
mentioned something
up
about
on a
doing so many things. I mean, you said during lockdown I did this and did that and did this. Shed a little bit of light. What were you up to and what did you do and what kept the pilot entertained or camped apart from her just being her pilot self? What were you up to and what interests you?
so now I'm talking about during lockdown, or am I talking about my
Anything,
interests
anything.
outside of it?
I'm just shedding light in the sense that it got some of us curious. What I mean, it got me curious, and I'm thinking she kept on saying that, right? And then it's in the back of my mind. I'm like, okay, fine. And then I'm like, okay, fine. We'll get to a part where we're a little bit less very formal, and let's talk about anything that she does. I mean, so I'm currently quite interested to find out what you were up to during lockdown because it's another period that I would actually like us to talk about. But then briefly, what
Yeah.
interests you apart from the aviation industry that you're in?
So I'll start with during lockdown. Like during lockdown, I took some online courses because at that time Harvard was like doing free online courses. So I did that. And at that time, a friend of mine was working on a business that was aviation related. So we were working on that, brainstorming and stuff like that. And then, because I'm young, I was also having fun. I was staying with a friend of mine during lockdown. So we used to dress up, we used to cook and eat nice food, and we used to dance. Yeah, so that's how I kept myself busy during lockdown.
Wow. So during this time, the aviation industry was being hit basically. And what was going through your mind? I mean, you were dancing, I know, but what was going through your mind in your career being threatened like this? Like, what was going through your mind on the other wavelength? I know you like everyone was happy at this point because we're chilling. I mean, but there are points where you're thinking when you're hearing that people are being retrenched and all of these things. What got into your mind at that time?
Well, anyone who knows me will tell you that I'm a very optimistic person. I don't like negativity. So during that time, I just had hope that eventually, the industry was going to recover, which it did. I knew that COVID wasn't going to be here forever, even though at that time it was going to be there for some time. But I knew that it wasn't going to be there forever. And I knew that one thing about the aviation industry was that it couldn't be completely like destroyed or it's something that you can't completely get rid of. Aviation is one of those things that you need. Like, people will always need transport. People will always need to be transported, especially overseas and regionally. So I knew that the industry would bounce back. I just didn't know when, but I knew that the industry would bounce back. I knew that opportunities would still be there for all of us.
Ah, awesome. Optimism is a good trait. So I'm going to encourage you to keep on having it. I mean, it's good.
I will.
And um, so you mentioned you were dancing and everything. So apart from lockdown, what else are you involved in terms of um, which is less aviation, or it could be aviation, but it's not entirely just you flying aircraft on the
Yeah.
side. What are you involved with? What kind of projects are you working around?
Well, I grew up on a farm. Not really. We moved to our farm when I was about 16 years old, and I really hated it. Like, I was so angry at my parents at the beginning because I thought, what are you doing to my social life by bringing me here? Like, this is not what I need right now. Imagine, like, being on a farm during outbreak. It was not like, it wasn't nice. But eventually, like, understood why that move was important. And now being at home on the farm means everything to me. So I'm into farming and agriculture because of being a farm girl. Livestock, crops, everything. I just really value the gift that the land we have is. And just seeing us do things on the land and produce fruit is amazing for me. So I'm passionate about like agriculture, and then I'm into business and stuff because when I realized that during COVID that if we don't have other plans, what happens to during COVID, if we don't have any other things that I know how to do, what happens? So now I then started to educate myself about business, about money, finances, investment, and stuff like that. So that's stuff that I also like to do outside of aviation.
Well, agriculture is a thing that is good. I mean, especially for Africans. I personally would want to end up being. I think that's the last thing I would actually want to do in my life when I've retired or everything and everything. So it's a great thing that you're already involved in agriculture and so forth. And as we are drawing slightly closer to the end of the show, sadly, I want us to take a short commercial break, and we'll be back. And I want to say thank you to our viewers as well who tuned in. Please like, subscribe, and please do ask questions that you would want Venny to answer. Any questions, please feel free to share in our comment section and tell us where you're watching us from. I do like to believe we're international, so it would be great to tell us where you're watching us from and where you're joining us from. So, in that regard, stick back, do not go anywhere. We'll be back just now. Yeah. And we are back. Vinny, where are you? Thank you so much for people who are watching us. And today is a special episode as we wait for Vinny to come back. Today is a special episode because it's the last episode of season two. And we have had amazing guests. We had amazing things happen. And it's a grateful pleasure that I have right now that you joined us for season two. I can't wait for season three. And the initiative is growing. If you're watching us for the first time, This program is shared by a group called Flight Wings Aviation, which is an educational consultancy which deals with educating the next set of future aviators. And we go by the mantra inspire, equip, and empower. And what you're currently watching is a show which is called The Big Sky, where we get to then explore the unlimited possibilities of aviation. So, thank you so much for watching us, and please spread the word. And if you want to know more from us, visit our website. Before the end of the show, I'll basically put up the site on the page. And we offer one of the things that we're really offering right now are it's an educational course. It's called the Junior Aviation course. So please do feel free to check on the dates. You'll find out how to enroll, how you can have people more involved, and that's it. Miss Venny, welcome back. Yes.
Thank you.
Uh, so so I was talking about what Flight Wings Aviation is. I mean, and the initiative that we're really into, where we get to give people awareness about aviation and everything. So usually, what we do is we ask every guest, like, let's say, given 1 minute to inspire individuals, and we believe our target audience or the demographic that we're looking into are young kids and people who are also okay, but then the young individuals, the grassroots. What kind of words do you have for the young individuals who haven't made the decision or who are yet to make the decision about them being involved in the aviation industry? What kind of advice would you give them?
Well, I would tell them that um, you should do it because you love it and you want to do it. Don't get into aviation because you feel pressured to, or because you're comparing to other people, or because you have to want to do it. You have to love it. You have to enjoy it, because it gets difficult if you don't like it. It gets it's not it's not easy if you're not doing it because you enjoy it. And I would also tell them to speak to as many people in the industry that they can. Most people that I was speaking to or reaching out to when I was never like turned their back on me. They were always willing to help. They were always willing to share the information they had. They were always willing to advise. They were always willing to encourage. And the last thing, this one is not so much to the young people wanting to enter the industry, but the people already in the industry. I would say my advice is take responsibility of your dream. Nobody is going to come and do certain things for you. Take those big steps. Take those steps to speak to the right people. Take those steps to apply for certain things. Take those steps to learn something new. Don't wait for certain opportunities to come to you, because they won't, and you will be stagnant for a long time. So take those big steps. Do the time. Um, take the Do what you need to do where you envision yourself to be.
Great speech, great speech, great speech, great speech. Empowered, 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 empowered. Take responsibility, visualize who you want to become, and yeah. So thank you so much, Miss Venny, for such wise words. And one more question, or is that? I mean, I don't know if one more question, but I don't say I'm one. Have you watched the movie Sally?
Yes, I have.
What's up? What's up? It seems like you're the only one who's watched Sally. I'm like, what is wrong with these pilots? Like, what is wrong with them? Oh, but then I guess you never really have time to watch television. I mean,
You'll be so
it's my bad.
surprised. It took me such a long time to watch Flight, to watch everything else that everyone was watching. So I don't blame those people for not having watched those movies.
The reason why for me it was really, I think it was really a motivational movie, and
Mm.
yeah, it shows that sometimes. we're used to flights just going and coming back. And do you ever imagine that? I know you're an optimist, but then what kind of training do you go through when they're teaching you how to to deal with situations like that? What kind of training do you go through? Or they haven't taught you
Well,
guys yet?
well, the whole point of flight school is to prepare for everything. So we literally prepare for everything. We prepare for engine failures. So the instructor will simulate an engine failure. He will cut the engine, and and then the aircraft is just going down, and you do the procedures to bring the aircraft back. And we'll prepare for an engine fire, for for literally any emergency you can think of. We prepare for them just in case, because it does happen to us. At least in your training, you're going to experience certain things. Like, I've experienced a radio failure on the day of my solo. My radio, my communication completely, I could speak to tower. And this is my first solo flight. So, well, I didn't notice that's what was happening. Well, so we prepare for every emergency that could happen.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Anyways, do you want to tell us where people can get in touch with you, any socials where people can follow you, any projects that you're working on and you want people to support you? This is your shot. Go ahead.
Well, you can follow me on Instagram at Veni_Pfende. I'm very active on Instagram, but not so much on Facebook. But you can try Veni Pfende on Facebook, and I'm a friendly person. Please do contact me if you need advice, if you need encouragement. We're all in this together. And please follow Airborne 29. My friend has some cool merch, hoodies, buffs, beanies, mugs, everything. So please follow Airborne_29. And yeah, that's about it coming from Benny.
Hmm. Awesome. Madam, thank you so much for honoring the last episode of season two, The Big Sky. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to our viewers for being an amazing bunch, from from first episode to this episode. Thank you so much for the support. And as the Big Sky and Flight Wings Aviation would love to say, happy festive season, Merry Christmas in advance, Happy New Year as well. And from me and the team, we're coming back in February. So we're going to relax, you guys. I hope you're going to relax too. And be with your family or your friends. Do whatever. Do whatever is inspiring or that makes you happy. And don't forget aviation to the world. So it is I, the host Isaac Yami for the Big Sky, and our guest was Ruvheneko, aka Veni. And have a pleasant good evening, morning, and any time zone. I mean, if you're gonna watch us later on, that's amazing too. So from the team, it is a bye and happy festive season again. Bye everyone.